All right, last one for rationals, rational expressions and multiplication. This is the one that's going to be a little bit more tricky, but it's going to be really pretty straightforward. We're going to multiply, we're going to convert, we're going to multiply rational numbers, still inside that big idea, and we're going to convert among percents, fractions, and decimals. So I might give you now a fraction and ask you to convert to a percent or a decimal. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. Oops, right there. All right, so let's convert among percents, fractions, and decimals. Remember, here's our cheat sheet. If we've got a fraction uh, as a percent, multiply by 100%, we can get to a fraction. If we've got a decimal and we want to convert to a percent, to write our decimal as a percent, multiply by 100%, or you could also say a fraction. If you've got a fraction here, multiply by 100%. All right, so let's take a look at this and say I want to write 5/6 as a percent. It's almost the whole thing. It's almost 100%, but it's not quite. So I'm going to say I've got 5/6, and I'm going to multiply a decimal or a fraction. To write a decimal or a fraction as a percent, multiply by 100%. All right, let's take this and multiply by 100%. That would give us a percent. And remember, this 100, we can move that into fraction land, or officially make it a rational expression or rational number by putting it over 1. So I've got 100% over 1. Now we can just multiply 5/6 times 100% to get 5 times 100 over 6. And we still got the percent equals 5 times 100. Let's call it, well, you know what? Before we go to dividing out or factoring out 100, let's factor out 6. 6 is 2 times 3. If I can find a 2 in the 100, let's rewrite 100 as 2 times 50. And that's all we're doing there. Keep the percent. We'll include that in just a second. I want to save some space for this guy over here. 5 times 2 times 50 over 2 times 3 percent. Look to factor out, cancel, reduce, simplify. 2 divided by 2 is 1. I've got 5 times 50 over 3 equals 250 over 3%. And I'm going to say, you know what? I can do long division. I can pull out the calculator, and I think I know what the answer is going to be. 250 divided by 3 is, yep, 83.3%. 83.3, repeating, percent. And there we go. There's our percent. We've converted a fraction into a percent, which is the same as doing converting a decimal into a percent by multiplying by 100%. The only thing I forgot here was to write the percent here. Not a big deal though. All right, let's try something different. Write 9/16 as a percent. 8/16 would be 50%. 8 out of 16 would be half of it. That'd be 50%. But you know what? It's 9/16. It's a little bit more. So let's assume that we're going to look for about 60%. So that should be our percent. So that should be our goal. Should be somewhere in the 60% range. And if we're close to that, that's my guesstimate. If we're close to that, we did pretty well. All right. We're going to use the second rule here. I'm going to change my color here. We're going to use the second rule here and say, well, I've got 9/16, and I want to convert that decimal or fraction into a percent. To write a decimal or fraction as a percent, multiply by 100%. Multiply by 100% over 1, because that 100% is over 1. We can bring it into the fraction land. All right, now I got 9 times 100 over 16 times 1 over 16. Let's see, I bet there's a 4 in here. So I'm going to rewrite this as 9 times 4 times 25 over 4 times 4. And I'm going to put the percent later on, because I'm just going to concentrate on the numbers right now. 4 divided by 4 is 1. We can cancel that out. Cancel, factor, reduce, simplify. I got 9 times 25. Well, I'm going to pull up my calculator. 25 times 9. 225. Whoops. 225 over 4. That's the only thing that's left over. 225 divided by 4. We can do the division. 56.25. And we forgot the percent here. We forgot to write the percent here. We forgot to write the percent here. But as long as we put the percent right here, there's our answer. We were looking for something more than 50 and about 60, 56%. Pretty close. 9/16. I'd accept that. Looks pretty good. 56%, a little more than half. Sounds pretty good. All right, same idea down here. This is actually a little easier. I got 0.027 as a percent. 0.027 multiply by to write a decimal as a percent. Multiply by 100%. By 100%. 0.027 times 100 equals, well, I know that when I multiply by 10, move my decimal place to the right one, I'm multiplying by 10 twice, or I'm multiplying by 100, means I've got two tens or two zeros. I move the decimal point 2 spots. I got 2.7, and the percent comes down, percent. 100% is, or sorry, 2.7% is 0.027 as a decimal. Write 0.043 as a percent. 0.043 as a percent. Multiply by 100%. Move the decimal point 2 spots. Don't confuse the decimal point with multiplication. Move this decimal point 2 spots to the right because we're making it bigger. Multiplying by 2 zeros. 10 times 10. 4.3%. Done. And that's all we got.